Let's talk about helping clients deal with setbacks. Now, this is going to happen repeatedly. This is going to happen over and over and over. And realize that change requires effort. They're going to have to exert some effort in order to change. And they're going to realize that by doing that, they're going to get different results. You know that old saying, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over? Well, if that thing's not working, then that is truly insane. If it is working, then that's the definition of success, doing the same thing over and over. Because if a football player catches a ball, runs to the end zone and scores a touchdown, and they do that over and over, and it works for them, that is wonderful. And he becomes very successful and makes a lot of money and so forth. But if something's not working, it's time to change. So when you help clients deal with setbacks, realize that there's going to have to be a change. That's going to involve effort. It's going to involve risk. There are going to be a number of factors involved with that. But they must start doing things differently. So when someone has a setback, let's say something didn't work out. You're coaching them and they're going for a promotion. Let's say you're working in a corporate world and you're working one-on-one with someone in upper management and they're going for a promotion. You've been coaching them, working with them on their skills to present themselves better and to get a better job within the corporation, but it doesn't work out. You have to explain to them that they're going to have to do something differently. It's a setback. It's okay. Setbacks happen, but they're going to have to put forth more effort or different effort if they're going to get a different result. Otherwise, if they continue to be hard-headed about it and do the same thing next time, it may not work out. If they don't change anything, then that's not going to produce any results that are any different from anything they've ever produced in the past. So coming to grips with reality can be a difficult thing, but can also be a wonderful thing. And dealing with setbacks can actually help the client learn more about their possibilities than their limitations, if they are open to the idea of realizing that change does require effort. They're going to have to put forth some effort. And usually it's going to be a different kind of effort than they've actually put forth in the past. And that's going to help move them to the next level. Going through a series of these possibilities is what getting somewhere is all about. Trying something else until something works. So if something isn't working, reflect on why and take another approach. This is always the way to do it. If it's not working, then rather than just changing to the next thing, find out why it's not working. Do some reflection about what you did or what you had them do. Find out why it's not working. Let's say, for example, in our situation of someone in upper management going for another position, a higher level position, let's say they didn't get the job, it didn't work out, and so they need to reflect, find out what isn't working, and take another approach. Now, let's say, for example, that they think that it was because they dress a certain way. They wear a certain type suit or a certain type dress regularly, and that's not the way people dress in the next level. They dress a different way. And so let's say they didn't get the promotion. They went before some sort of review and it didn't work out. And they feel that it's because of their appearance, the way that they're dressing. Now remember, if something isn't working, reflect on why and take another approach. If that is a viable reason why they may not have gotten the promotion, then it is, of course, within reason to change that. Taking a different approach means changing something. If that's the most obvious thing, and if nothing else is standing out, if nothing else is glaring, then that can be what needs to be changed. But realize that when people dress differently from other people, they usually act differently also. There's usually more that's different about them than just the way they're dressing. For example, if someone has a purple mohawk, there's probably more that's different about them compared to the average person in the streets than just the mohawk and the fact that it's a certain color. They probably have a different mindset as well. So changing the clothes won't necessarily change the person. So when you reflect on why, as it says, and take another approach, make sure you're reflecting on your best guess as to what the why might be. Now, you may not know. You may not know for certain what the why is, why they didn't get the promotion, but take your best guess. So rather than shooting for the surface, just changing the clothes, they may need to change their attitude. They may need to change jobs. They may never get promoted because they just don't fit into the next level. That's possible too. So make sure you have the why right before you're suggesting changing direction. Avoid actions that put goals at risk. So in this particular scenario, the person didn't get the job, the next level up. What would an action be that puts the goals at risk? Well, the obvious one that would put the goals at risk would be to advise your client to storm into the office and demand why they didn't get promoted and demand that they be promoted or have a thorough explanation. That puts goals at risk. Another option that would put goals at risk would be trying to dress even more differently than the other people, thinking that accentuating the uniqueness would help. And I'm talking about an office in which there are 100 people at the next level, and this person didn't get in, and they think their best chance of getting in now is to make themselves even more different. So certain things are obvious, and when you see something obvious that's happening or going to happen, it's your job to avoid actions or to help your client avoid actions that put their goals at risk. And your client will consistently want to take actions that put his or her goals at risk. That's what clients do, unfortunately. They make a series of incorrect decisions, and it's your job to help minimize this. Now, you may think that's a negative way of looking at things, isn't it? I'm saying that clients usually make a series of negative decisions. They'll try to make negative decisions, but it is true. It is true, and it's one of the reasons you are there. If they knew any better, they wouldn't have hired you. Always keep that in mind. There's a reason you're there. When someone hires a life coach, they've gotten to the point at which they realize that they are not making effective decisions. In fact, they're usually making decisions that hinder their progress. They want you to take corrective action. Doesn't mean you're going to physically punish them when they do something that's not helping them to reach their goals, but it does mean that you're going to at least bring it up and at least pose some questions. Questions are always wonderful. Why are you taking this action? Would be a wonderful question. What do you expect to accomplish by taking this action? What is your goal that you're working toward, and how is this action contributing to that? So realize that your clients, if left unattended, can very well go down the wrong road. It's your job to keep the ball in play, to keep the ball on the field, to keep the team moving forward. Keep that in mind. Emotions can throw you off course, but realizing this can get you back on track. This is true of both you and your client. Your emotions can get you in a lot of trouble quickly. If you allow yourself to get frustrated in what you're doing, you're going to find that you get yourself very far off course. And I don't need to remind you, but I will anyway, that the course means you helping the client get the job done, and off course means you're out of a job. So stay on course. Remember that emotions can throw you off course. If you get too caught up emotionally in trying to fix something, then you're going to find that you're actually working against it. And many times you're going to walk into a situation, you're going to say, this needs to be fixed, that needs to be fixed. This is ridiculous, and I'm very angry. That's how you're going to feel, very angry that it's not working out, and there has to be some change here. No one's listening to me. No one's taking my advice or suggestions. That's why this company's failing. that's what you're going to think. Well, I want to share with you some words of wisdom from Colonel Potter from MASH. Remember the show MASH 4077 from the 70s? It was a wonderful show about the Korean War, and it was a comedy and a drama. And it was a great show. And Colonel Potter was the colonel who was in charge of this MASH unit. And the MASH unit is a unit that has to help people when they are injured. They have to perform surgery and get them functioning again or send them home with a Purple Heart when they get injured on the battlefield. Colonel Potter's job was to organize all the doctors and nurses and staff and oversee the patients and everything. And he said, this is a fictional character, of course, but he said, there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. And the wrong way is trying to get everyone to do things the right way. So I want you to keep that in mind. I'll say it again. There's a right way and a wrong way to do things. And the wrong way is trying to get everyone to do things the right way. If you find yourself feeling like a salmon swimming upstream instead of going with the flow, you're going to quickly realize that you're working against the process. You're working against helping the situation. You're actually hurting the situation. So realize that you can get emotionally caught up and you can actually start fighting the situation. You need to flow with the situation. That means keeping your emotions in check. So when you realize that your emotions can throw you off course, this can get you back on track, because then you realize that you separate your emotions from what you're doing. And this helps you get back on track. Always keep that in mind. I want you to expect the unexpected. When you're helping clients deal with setbacks, I want you to expect the unexpected. I want you to look forward in time, use your crystal ball, if you will, and see what might go wrong. It's pretty easy to do. If someone's going to attempt to merge with another company and you're helping facilitate that by coaching the key players in the game, you can easily see that it just might not work out. A merger just might not happen. And despite your best efforts to work with everyone involved and get everyone pumped up and doing the right thing and so forth, it just might not happen. That's a possibility. You might be a personal coach for an actor. Life coaches can be also called personal coaches. And you are helping them get a movie that's going to pay them $5 million. It's your job to make sure they're up on time, they're rehearsing, they're going to the auditions, they're schmoozing with the right people, going to all the right parties, handing in their headshot, whatever they have to do. But you realize that it might not work out. They might not get it. This is going to be a setback for your client if it doesn't work out. You need to look ahead. Expect the unexpected. Now, sometimes that sort of outcome is expected. They are actually expecting to fail, believe it or not, in many cases. So that's not really what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about a situation in which you can tell, despite your best efforts, that your client thinks they're going to fail, or the company thinks it's not going to work out, the merger or whatever it is not going to work out. You can tell. So I'm not talking about the expected. Sometimes, even though they're putting their best foot forward, they still expect to fail. That's expecting the expected. That's easy. I'm talking about when everyone's smiling, everyone's popping the champagne bottles already, and they're really getting happy and excited. You have to look ahead and say, what if this doesn't work out? What if something comes out of the blue? What if something happens? You have to look for all of those things. That's part of your job. Part of your job is to stay vigilant. When everyone else is excited and partying, it's your job to expect the unexpected. This keeps you employed, because if you can expect the unexpected, you can take steps toward heading that off, possibly. Some things you will not be able to control, and that's fine. But some things you can at least create a contingency plan for. You can always have a plan for what if it rains? What if it rains? If it rains, you have the same event inside. So always anticipate the possibility of someone or something raining on the parade of what's going on. And what will you do if that happens? A hole-in-one is rare. It takes a few tries. It may take many tries. It may take a long, long time. But a hole-in-one is rare. It may take a few tries. It doesn't always take a few tries. Sometimes it happens right away. Sometimes a hole-in-one happens. When I say a hole-in-one, of course, I'm talking about golf, when you hit the ball and the ball goes right in the hole. That's wonderful. Happens. Doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. Realize that when your client is going for something, shooting for the stars, and you look at it as a long shot, because a hole-in-one is literally a long shot. That's the ultimate definition of a long shot. When you realize that they're going for a long shot, I want you to realize reality. I don't want you to necessarily share with them reality. Your contingency plan, your backup plan for the hole-in-one not working out and the unexpected happening, that's something that you should keep in your pocket. Keep under your hat, as they say, until it happens. Then reveal your plan. Plan B. Always have Plan B for your client. You're going to become invaluable if you create Plan B. They're going to love you if you have Plan B. Because Plan B is the answer when everything else has turned to ashes and rubble. Everyone's standing there looking at each other, scratching their heads. What do we do now? You've already thought about what we do now because you have Plan B. So realize when your client's going for a long shot, you should be right there for them, believing in them, looking down the fairway saying, yep, that's going to work out. That ball's going in that hole. But in the back of your mind, you're thinking of the plan for what if it doesn't work out. You've got all the people, all the key players, all the elements in place for it not working out because you've thought about that. You've looked ahead and you've seen that the reality is that that's a long shot and it may not work out. So always keep that in mind. I remember watching an episode of The Apprentice with Donald Trump, and that's where I get the idea of have a plan for when it rains. One of the people who is one of the finalists on the show is, of course, set up where people come in and they want to be an apprentice of Donald Trump, and they are given different business scenarios, some more challenging than others, and they're given the opportunity to be leaders, and eventually all of them get weeded out except one, and he gets to be taken on board as someone who worked for Donald Trump. Well, there's one guy who didn't quite have everything go his way, and it did rain, and he didn't have a plan. He planned for a hole-in-one. He thought this was going to go great. Everything was going to go wonderful, but it rained. And the event that he planned that had to do with him winning the show and making everything happen didn't happen. It was rained out. He had no plan B. Off the show he went. That was it. I want you to keep an open mind and adjust to changes. This is the number one way to help clients deal with setbacks. Keep an open mind and adjust to changes. And that's really what it's all about. I also want you to teach this skill to your client. They need to learn this skill because what happens in many cases is that people try things and the things don't work out. And they end up just frustrated. And they say, well, this is never going to work out. Nothing's going to work out. Everything I do is going to fail. I'm just going to stop doing things. And I have firsthand experience with that. When I lived in Los Angeles, some of my friends were comedians. They were beginning comedians. And these weren't clients. These were actual friends of mine. And they would go to clubs and they would practice their stand-up comedy routine. You may think comedy's funny, but I want to tell you, it's a serious, serious business with a lot of competition. And most comedians are not laughing behind the scenes or off stage. If anything, they're crying because that is a really tough business and it can really beat people up. Very few people have what it takes to pull off comedy. Drama is very easy. Get up there, you act sad, act like you're depressed. Very easy to do. Probably anyone could do that. Comedy is a lot trickier. Getting someone to laugh is not easy. So, every year, people end up in LA whose friends tell them, hey, you're the funniest person I've ever heard. You should go do comedy. So they go to Los Angeles and they want to become comedians. They maybe take a class or two in improvisation or learning comedic timing or what have you. They get up on stage. What happens? Not many laughs. They kind of bomb out. What happens at that point? Many of them quit. It's kind of like the medical school process. You want to be a medical doctor? Fine. Take physics. Take calculus. You don't like it? Dropping out? Okay. You're out of there. It's a weed out process. And the world of comedy is harsh. But those comedians who are just beginning, who have an open mind and adjust to changes, and perhaps hire life coaches who can help them do this, are the ones who succeed. This isn't funny? Fine. I won't say it anymore on stage. I will say something different. That's not funny? I won't say it anymore either on stage. I will say something different. If they keep an open mind and adjust to changes, they eventually start saying things that are only funny on stage. And then they get somewhere. And that's the way it's going to be. For you, working with clients, you're going to try a number of things with them if something doesn't work. So, help your clients deal with setbacks and help them move forward.